All right, welcome to another Friday night episode of Keto Rocks Radio. I'm Jim Hobbs, and down below, I believe, is my carnivore co-host, Brian Damas Forsythe of Kix and Rhino Bucket. And Brian is coming to us from Ocean City.
Yes.
Awesome. And you got a gig this week. Kix is playing at the Bike Fest this week? What's going on?
Yeah. I mean, by the time this records, I'll have already done it, but it's actually tonight. So I drove in last night, flew into Baltimore, and then drove here, and I didn't get until almost 3 a.m.
Wow. So we're lucky to have you this morning. So
if I sound like I just woke up, well, that might be why.
Gotcha. Hey, while we're talking about, before we introduce our guest, a little bit of housekeeping notes. For those who have been following us, we've been teasing you guys along for the meetup October 2nd to correlate with the Maryland Institute of Music Chili Cook-Off fundraiser on Sunday, October 2nd. Due to some logistical issues and scheduling and getting the equipment needed in order to produce that event, the Maryland Institute of Music has canceled their chili cook-off for that Sunday, and probably, according to Rick Parks, will not do it this year, but do it the following year. So because our Keto Rocks Retreat meetup was going to be in conjunction with that, we also are canceling our 2022 meetup. So we apologize. We'll look forward to seeing you guys in 2023, but as it stands now, you can still go see Brian, or you could have seen him a couple of nights ago in Ocean City, but you can't see him because I know they're playing in La Plata on October 1st, and I don't know if you guys are playing elsewhere in Maryland up until that date. Brian, do you know?
Well, this Saturday, and this records, it'll be tomorrow, Saturday. We're up in Frenchtown, Pennsylvania, which is up near Philadelphia, kind of. Trying to think of where else we are. We're kind of all over the place, but
go to the website, go to their Kix band page, and you'll be able to find out where Kix is playing and where you can catch America's favorite guitar playing carnivore. So now, with that all being said, we get a chance to welcome back our person who just shares, has been an open book. Both her and her husband Ken have been open books during this journey, and so it's been about 6 weeks. We've missed you, Carrie.
I know, I miss being here.
So it's so exciting to have you back. So why don't you give everybody who's following along in your journey where you started, in case someone's watching this for the first time, but where you're at now, because you look like you're just glowing. So first of all, you look great.
Thank you. I am so excited. Like, I'm on the brink of tears just being able to share. I have lost 34 pounds to date. Wow. 34 pounds. Oh my gosh. That's a whole lot of butter. That is a whole lot of butter. That's all I gotta say.
That is awesome.
I am thrilled. I was hoping to have measurements for you guys today, but that just didn't happen because we're getting ready to go on our Crestone, Colorado trip, and too much is going on. I was like, well, I didn't get the measurements today, but next time we chat, we will. And hopefully there'll be even some more loss, because I've got about 20 pounds yet to go. And but I'm thrilled. I'm just thrilled because clothes that I haven't been able to get into for years are now fitting again. And it's like I've got this whole brand new wardrobe. I don't have to buy anything. I just got it stuffed away in the closet because I knew eventually I was going to be responsible for my health again. And so I'm excited I don't have to buy any new clothes. And I've never been one that's really been concerned about the greatest and latest fashion. So it doesn't matter to me.
It all comes back around. It all comes back around anyway. Plus, it's like your Christmas. It's like your Christmas closet. You get a chance to go, oh, what am I going to wear now?
Exactly. I saw in the store that they had stirrup pants that they brought back in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and high-waisted jeans and all of these 80s stuff. And I saw some kids walking around with some mullets again, and I'm like, I guess we're officially coming back into the 80s. If I start seeing fluorescent colors, I've got a couple of those things tossed in my closet in the back. I'll bring those back out as well.
Yeah, black velvet, like posters and everything. It's all going to come back.
I know, that is right. You know, it was an age where it was loud and obnoxious and fun. That's all I have to say. It was just a decade of absurdity, of self-expression, of I don't know. I'm grateful I grew up in the 80s. So anyway, I think I have
me too. And talking about that, I had to travel back in time just the other day. I always go to our Costco in Fredericksburg, but it's connected to the mall. But I never go into the mall. I strictly just go to Costco and leave. Well, I was coming out of Costco and I go, I haven't walked in the mall in forever. That was an 80s things to do, whether you went to, Springfield Mall was the meetup land. It doesn't matter. There's malls everywhere. People met up in malls. So I turned right, walked maybe 200 yards, and on the left, which I thought I didn't even know they existed anymore, was the Spencer's. And so for those of you who are from the 80s, you guys will remember Spencer's. They sold posters and paraphernalia, and they have rock shirts and sayings and stickers and stuff that you're not supposed to see when you're in high school, and expose you to different games you can play. And I was like, wow, I just brought me down memory lane. I can remember going to Spencer's and Springfield Mall in Virginia, and it was just I felt like I was a kid again, walking through the same store, only as a 58, 59-year-old, how old I am, man. And then I started looking around, and all these guys are in their 20s and 30s. Like, oh man, I felt like, what the heck am I doing here? They're probably going, man, what's that old guy? He's probably got dementia and is lost. But anyway, I digress. Carrie, this is all about you. So why don't you share your journey and what's been happening?
Well, I was thinking about what I wanted to share today, and there's a couple things. I am going to bring 2 Hebrew words into it because I felt it today when we were hiking. But I want to let you know, this is so amazing. Okay, so we're going to Crestone, Colorado, and we're going to do some high mountain hiking. Okay, I'm only at 2,000 feet elevation, but we're going to start up at 9,000 and potentially go up to 12,000 feet. That being said, because I started this journey in reclaiming my health back in February, when these discussions started coming up with our Crestone Gathering group that we chat with every Thursday, I didn't have to say, I'm not able to. And that is so fascinating and wonderful and marvelous, to not have to say, I can't do it this year because I'm not physically capable. I mean, I can do this. I can do this now. And so just being able to not have to say no to things and not have to be left out because I made poor choices is like, I started this journey back in February. I'm now able to. Ken and I have been training with our backpacks. Mine's over 40 pounds. Ken's is 60, because we're going to do some high mountain camping as well. So we've had to have our gear on. And the fact that I can hike with that weight on my body. And what's so crazy, it's 10 pounds heavier than the weight that I lost, but I'm walking with it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't ever want to be back there again. But the reminder of what 10 pounds extra my body could have felt like. And so I was taking it in all today. We did just a little over 3 miles with our pack today. And I was taking all of it in, and I was feeling into the moment of how my body felt, what my knees felt like, my back, my lungs. And I was having so much gratitude that A, I could carry the weight, but B, I don't have to carry that weight all the time. It's by choice. I put it on my back and I take it off. And then when I took the backpack off, I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to go run, because that difference and just shedding it, and to realize that, almost all of that weight is what I've lost since February, and how much easier my body is to be in now. I take up less space. My energy requirements are less. I just feel freaking good. And when I go out and play the Frisbee with my husband now, I can literally jump up in the air and grab the Frisbee if he goes over my head. Whereas before there was no way I could do that. Are you kidding me? You know, I might have a reach, but there was no way I was leaving off the ground. And I can do that. So even our Frisbee time yesterday, I just had so much joy because I could run to go get the Frisbee. I could jump to get the Frisbee. You know, I could do some of those crazy things that I could have only imagined of doing when I was younger, but you know, getting close to 50 years old and I'm out acting like a teenager out with my husband throwing the Frisbee. It's like, man, recapturing life again. Oh, it's
Well,
amazing.
you
It's
know,
just amazing.
yeah, well, it is amazing. As you were talking, I was just thinking about, you look at your loss of losing weight. So your loss becomes a gain and opportunities to experience more deeply, more fulfilling. And then when we literally take the bait and poison ourselves by eating processed foods and all that, and we put that weight on us, we gain weight and we lose opportunity and we lose options that we have set before us. It doesn't change. We are the only ones that can change. By changing us opens up opportunities that we would not ordinarily been able to do. Just like you're talking about your hike. A year ago, you probably would have said what you said and would not be participating and doing that this year because of your decisions to change you internally is giving you the external experience of taking this hike. And I can just see how pride and beaming of joy you are for being at this place. And I think we lose sight of those simple things that we're able to be in control of and to be able to do, and the opportunities it opens up for us regardless of what age you're at. So it's never too late to take back your life and say, you know what, I'm living it on my terms. So this is why I'm going to do this. This is why I'm going to eat this lifestyle. And it's life changing, but more importantly, it's life giving. And I know for you, I just know you spirit wise, to be able to do that and share that with your husband, Ken, is so much more meaningful than for you to have said, hey, I can't do this. As much as I love you, I can't do this.
Well, and here, I'm so glad that you brought that up because one of my biggest shadows that I had to transmute in my healing process was being left behind. This goes way back, and this is a much longer story that I care to share on this platform right now, but it has been something that has plagued me. If you want to call it a demon that has plagued me, and I'm using that term very loosely, but it has been something that has been with me pretty much my entire life. And when I was in my first go around of getting physically fit and having lost 30 pounds, the first time, I was always pushing myself, trying to feel like I needed to catch up with my husband. And I didn't really, like, I felt like I needed to do exactly what he could do. Right. Well, A, I'm a female body. B, I'm 5'8" and he's 6'2". There's just some physical differences. Like I can't run as fast as him. His stride is amazing, you know, and then he's a man, and you guys with that extra testosterone, there's just strength there that us women don't have. And I never understood why it was such a crazy concept. Like he would run ahead of me. And I think I shared with you guys like 6 weeks ago of how I see my husband now, but he would be gone from my sight and I would start having like panic attacks. Like I was being left behind. And I'm like, this is so stupid. What is this about? And being able to overcome some of that stuff and dealing with that being left behind, had I not lost this weight, it could have triggered me again in going, I want to climb this mountain with you. I can't. But the spiritual connotation of that which we are going to do in the natural, physical, based on everything that the spirit has been sharing with us over the last year, this is a huge moment for Ken and I. And the fact, like I said, like you said, I can actually do it with him versus had it been a year ago when we went into Crestone the first time, there is absolutely no freaking way. And it would have brought all of that stuff back in, or, well, because I hadn't even transmuted it last year. So this is a completely new slate this year, all the way around, with the way my heart is, with the way my mind is, with the way my body is. And, you know, I can't, he's like, I don't want to be in the ego, but at the same point, I did this, right? This was something that I did. And I put my hands to this work. And what's so thrilling about this, and that I want people to understand more than anything, is that this lifestyle is sustainable. Okay. The first time I lost weight, it was not sustainable. I was counting calories all the time. Okay. I was counting calories on everything I ate. B, 6 small meals a day throughout the day. And I was always chasing carbohydrates. So I was always in a crash, and I couldn't wait to get that next meal in me. And I was not fun to be around. I mean, because I was pre-diabetic at that point as hypoglycemia, I was not fun to be around when I was hungry. I was grumpy. I was angry. I was moody. I was short. Now, if I miss hours and I extend my fast time, I might get a little kind of sluggish, like, yeah, I could probably eat, but I'm not a grump. I'm not a jerk. And so, having said all of that, just to put a cap on this here, is that this lifestyle is sustainable. And what I'm tickled about is that when I get to my goal weight, which is, 20 more pounds, I'm going to be able to keep it off. I'm going to be able to keep it off. Are you kidding me? No more yo-yos. No, oh my gosh, I just put on 10 pounds. I need to take it off. It's like, I know how to stay healthy now. Right, and that is huge, and it's not that grind, because the last time I did this, it was a freaking grind. And I hated every single moment of the journey. I don't hate this journey. It has been thrilling to see that I lose, between 4 to 5 pounds a month. It's not a huge, like I didn't dump 10 pounds in a month, but it's been sustainable and it's been doable. And it didn't take me, I didn't get to where I was overnight. And there's no way that I could think that I should be able to lose it that fast. Yeah, I wanted to have all the weight off by the time I got to Crestone. But realistically, I am thrilled that between 4 to 5 pounds a month that my body has just been effortlessly losing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's truly amazing. You said something earlier when talking about, the 80s are coming back around, the fashion's coming back around. But I also think because of this lifestyle of keto carnivore that we're living out, and I want to say kudos to Brian, because Brian, Peggy and I was talking about this yesterday at a real estate function that we attended in Richmond, and they were supplying lunch. Had to order lunch in advance, and we ordered roast beef sandwich, and we made in the comments that to remove the bread, that we wanted no carbs, and they said they couldn't do that. So anyway, no big deal. We do what Brian does. We just remove the bread, put it to the side. Of course, they pack the box with chocolate and mother like a hosty cake and all kinds of stuff, and a bag of kettle chips. We put it all to the side. But on the way home, we were talking about. Anyway, so Peg and I was talking on the way home, saying, when we did Atkins, probably back in 2006 or 7, and we lost the weight, we didn't know the health ramifications that came along with living that lifestyle. We were just excited about losing the weight. Like Brian always says, he was never about losing the weight. It was about the health. And so this time around, we are doing it with a different mindset. We are living this lifestyle for health, for longevity, for energy, for boosting your immune system. And the weight's just a byproduct of living that lifestyle. It's more about how we feel. Like I feel like someone wanted to say, let's go hike. I'm going to say, let's go hike. I think Brian's a perfect example of just living a very, living that lifestyle and sharing with the world what allows him to live that lifestyle, which is how he eats and maintains his temple or his body. And because of that, he's encouraged so many people to step out and do the same thing. I was thinking our guests the last couple of weeks have been phenomenal. I mean, Rob's story last week, Carl the week before, and how Brian has been such an example and a mentor to them, and a way to help them be able to embrace this lifestyle. But you're seeing all these 50s and 60s, and I'm sure we have some 70 years old that watch this program, that are feeling like they're back in their 20s, and are looking at life differently now, all because of the food that they're putting in their body, and understanding what really brings true health care versus what we've been told by corporate America and big food and big pharma what brings health care. And so, you know, kudos to Brian for the impact that he's had, because he's had an impact on so many different lives. Like Carrie, you're sharing your story. I know your story that you're sharing, and the journey of getting here is going to have an impact and encourage so many other people who may be struggling with not being able to do certain activities at certain age. Is going to give them the encouragement to say, you know what, let me really check this out and find out if I can also experience what they are experiencing. So I think it's just a cool time to be alive, because, you know, we get a chance we can't turn back time, but we can turn away from the food that they're trying to feed us. And in its essence, that gives us the energy to be able to turn back time and to have that same energy level and that same health level that we had when we were in our 20s. So it's just an awesome time to be alive. It's an awesome time to be alive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
it's the whole package. It's like, it's not only, the weight, but it's the, the physical part and the mental part. I mean, all that stuff comes together,
And I think that you nailed it, Brian, too, on the mental part. Not having that fog, because when you're chasing carbs all the time, especially if you're in a pre-diabetic stage, or what do they call that? When you go and you get tested, but you're just under the numbers, so you kind of cruise by when you go to the doctor. It's pre-diagnosed. I don't know. There's a term.
Pre-diabetic, yeah.
Yeah, it's pre-diabetic. There's a term that you just cruise by, but you're like literally right there, and it makes me wonder if if they lifted the standards a little bit more too, to try to get people to the point where they get really sick and then have to go in worse, versus if they could test it so they could see the levels a little bit sooner, because they meaning the big pharma doesn't want us to be healthy, because they can't make money off of us if we're healthy. It's just not
Well,
possible.
well, I heard that the way they set those, the like on the blood chart, when they give you your results, and it has the, the low, the high, and then the where it's supposed to be, the normal. It's set by the average of what the average American is. So the average American is not healthy. So that's where those things lie. Like, so, the new normal is not healthy.
No, it's not. It reminds me of what they did with the clothing industry too. And I might have
Yeah,
mentioned it ago, but
exactly.
they changed the clothing size, because we kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And people were, I don't know if they were doing it psychologically, because women, a size 6 pair of clothing today is not what it used to be. It just is not. It's more like an 8 or a 10. They literally increase that clothing size. And I don't know, psychologically, because they don't want people understanding or knowing that they're actually getting bigger. I don't know. It's a huge psychological game that's being played. So I'm glad to be on this side of it. I'm glad to be awake and aware of what's going into my body, what I'm doing, the health benefits, like you were mentioning, Jim. Like, it's a completely different mindset now. And because we have the ability with social media, we can begin talking about these things and reaching a larger group of people and impacting them with this information, and being able to see the transformations, right? You put them on video, the YouTubes. I mean, you go back to the first time that you had me on the show, and you can see what my face looks like now versus when I first came on, and what it's going to look like 20 pounds from now. I mean, it's an awesome opportunity to be able to share this information with people that will change their lives forever.
One of the things that we were talking about off air, but I think it's important that I share it, is the fact that I went to the store today, Brian, to go pick up food to make Slinky's food that we make for once a week. And part of his recipe is he has tuna fish and sardines. The tuna fish and vegetable oil was $1 a can. Same size, same 5-ounce can was $1 for tuna and vegetable oil. For the same size tuna in water was $1.75. So you have to ask yourself, why is tuna packed in water more expensive than tuna packed in vegetable oil? And the only thing I can think of is they are steering people to buy the tuna and the vegetable oil because it's going to be a lot cheaper for them in the short term, not the long term. And so you're hearing, you're hearing this week about the trains maybe going on strike. So it's going to impact the supply chain. And so it's amazing how we're seeing stuff that's good for you go up in price or be hard to find versus the stuff that's not good for you. You're going to pay the price for buying cheaper food than buying what's really a very simple God-given ingredient, meat and eggs, which will give you true health care, but that's not what people are told to buy. And I know we keep going back to that White House nutritional guidelines, but I can't help it. Just really perturbs me the fact that they're pushing sugar frosted mini wheats or Fruit Loops or whatever, Lucky Charms. It's almost like I can't believe this world that we're living in, and that people take this entity so serious that they truly have their best interests at heart to follow that guidelines, when you're seeing people like Brian Forsythe and Carl and Carrie and so many others who have been on this show, who you can see the difference manifest itself. You can see the health, you can see the glow. And I hope this show does encourage other people. More importantly, I hope the people who are living that out, it encourages the circles in which they're walking out in on a daily basis. We have to start trusting our gut instinct and what we are truly experiencing, because if you're honest with yourself, if you study Carrie or study Brian Forsythe or study Carl, or study anyone who's living a keto carnivore lifestyle. Dr. Robert Kiltz is another perfect example. At his age, the energy that he has, it should be proof to you that this isn't a fluke. And as Carrie said earlier, that this is sustainable. And when you're constantly been programmed to have to exercise more than the calories that you take in, it becomes more of a job and a chore and something that weighs you down to the point that you cannot sustain that. But when you are living out this keto carnivore lifestyle, I don't keep track. I mean, I know people out there, the micros and the macros, and I don't keep track of any of that. What I keep track
I'm not doing any of that right now either. None.
Yeah, what I keep track of is I keep track that I'm going to eat meat for life, and it gives me life-giving qualities, and I'm able to feel great each and every day that I get up now. I mean, Brian, you're in Ocean City. You're about ready to do a gig on Wednesday night, but you're also ready to do one again on Saturday night. And probably, and I'll let Brian speak for himself, did you ever vision yourself when you guys were playing in the 70s and 80s that in year 2022, you still be playing just as hard as you were back in the 70s and 80s?
No, I'd never even thought ahead that far. Yeah, I thought, somebody my age was some old guy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but but let me go back to that. So in the 70s, some of your music influences, do you remember anybody playing with that much energy that were in their 60s and 70s back then in the late 70s, early 80s?
Not offhand. Because I mean, what used to come to mind when I would think of an older person still playing music would be like John Lee Hooker, or sitting in a chair playing his guitar, like barely strumming it. And I thought, well, when I get that old, I can, I can still play music, but I'll just sit in the chair on the stage. But I don't need no stinking chair.
Yeah, it's funny. I was listening to the Elton John song came on, I'm Still Standing, and I was really going, man, that'd be a great song to have Steve Whiteman sing. Because the lyrics are exactly what I think of Steve when he's up there performing. And those lyrics, and of course, Elton John is still performing, but of course, he's sitting behind the keyboard and the keys and tickling the ivy. But it's so cool to see more bands that were very popular in the 70s and 80s still out there performing here in the year 2022.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
very different.
Look at Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
I mean, he's as good as ever, I think.
I mean, it's just truly, I mean, Jimmy Buffett, I mean, he's out there touring right now. So there's just so many people. I don't remember anybody during that era that was considered old that was still out there. I mean, back then, I guess it would be Elvis Presley. But if you even look back to then, he was in his 40s, so it wasn't like he was in his 60s performing.
Right.
Of course, he didn't make it to 50. But I mean, I don't think there was anybody that was performing. Maybe even the Who was young back then. I'm just, the Who's still out there performing too. So I don't know. I just think it's a great time to be alive. I'm just so humble and appreciative that I get a chance to be able to witness it and live this lifestyle and still see the bands that I grew up with still out there performing live at pretty close to energy levels they were back when I was in high school.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, the older you get, when I was back in those days, someone that wasn't that old, maybe in their late 40s, early 50s, I thought was old.
Yeah.
But when by the time you get there, you realize, oh, that's not really that old. And then, and I look back at whoever I was looking at back then, and I realized they're like 20 years younger than I am now. So it's like, oh, okay. It's just
Perception, man. Perception.
Yeah, it's perspective. Right. But Carrie, you could probably enlighten us on this, but don't you think that the age has become more of just a number now, where before we were going ahead and trying to live up to that age of, you're supposed to have aches and pains, or you're going to kick the bucket when you're 60, you're going to start getting Social Security, and you're supposed to slow down, you're supposed to retire, and I don't see this.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely freaking not. When you have the right diet that is perfect for your body type, for the proper human diet that actually makes all the systems work the way that they were supposed to, in being very symbiotic with nature and whatnot, as sustainable, there is no reason that by the time we're 70, 75, or 80, that we should have to be slowing down. Anybody that says that is then on the sad American diet. Because if you haven't changed to this lifestyle to be able to embrace the potential of what your body was designed to do. I mean, it was designed to be this way. And so when you are doing what it was designed to do, you're just going to be able to self-actualize in so many greater levels and potentials that you never thought was possible. So we don't have to look at the older generation and go, that's what I'm heading to. Absolutely not. That's not what I'm heading to. I am not heading to where my parents are at in their 70s at all. My future is positive. It's rosy. It's bright. And I'm embracing it. Because I remember where they were at my age right now. And I remember the aches and the pains and the things that they were dealing with at about 50 years old that aren't even touching me. They're just not even touching me because I've made choices. And, as long as we can get over some of the social stigma, I wanted to, if you would allow me to kind of take a little spiritual sidestep here. One of the things that I hear a lot from the enlightened community is that those people that eat meat, I've actually heard people say, do not listen to anyone who eats meat because they are not enlightened. That is hogwash. That is absolutely hogwash. Because I will tell you, my spirituality has I can't even begin to tell you how far it has progressed and especially in clean eating and doing it this way, because there is a cycle that happens here that is very natural. And I wrote two words up here that I wanted to share. And I'm not going to take a long time, but I can do it very quickly. But there is a release that we do in helping animals, depending on where your thoughts are. And then for some people in the spirituality community, depending on your foundation, whether you're in Christianity or if you're in Buddhism or whatnot, there's different ways of viewing things. And I know that when I was in fundamental Christianity, I believed that this life was the only life I got, and that was it. You know, you're born, you die, that's it. There's nothing beyond that. I have since changed my perspective on that. And the way that I see that the natural course flows is that energy is always being transmuted. So when something dies and is no longer has a life force energy in the body that it's in, it actually is able to transmute itself into something else. So if we are partaking of beef, if we are partaking of lamb, if we are partaking of chicken, the life force energy that has been transferred over for us to sustain life, we actually release them to enter into a new form themselves. So when people are like, oh, and they want to shame, we as a collective in certain aspects want to shame people for eating meat and not realizing that actually the death to the animal is a gift because it allows them to progress in their spiritual maturation. Again, for fundamental Christianity, they probably would not hear anything that I say, and it may be considered doctrines of demons. But I know that energy is transferred. It's always changing, and it's always moving into a different dynamic as it's being transferred. And so I see death differently. I see the sacrifice that animals make is actually a blessing on their side as well for their evolution process into a new shape and a new form, whatever that is for them. So I don't look at it. And so when somebody says to me, oh, you cannot be spiritually enlightened because you're eating meat, I actually go, you still have some steps to take in your spiritual journey. Because if you are seeing it as you're still shaming and guilting people, instead of understanding how the cycle goes and how energy flows, then there's still some steps that need to be revealed to you. And that's okay. I am totally fine. I am totally fine with where everyone is at in their way of seeing things, because it's their journey. But I know for me in my house of what it's done for us to be able to have that proper alignment with nutrition and how much it's helped our spiritual maturation, and to see the full circle of life, it is freaking incredible. And I am glad to be part of it, because their death and our death is part of that cycle of life, and we get transformed into something new as well. And then look at what feeds upon our bodies when they're decomposing, unless you decide to not have your flesh remain in the ground. So it's all a cycle. It's all a cycle, and it's beautiful.
Well, energy can't be converted to form, but it's not created or destroyed. It just transforms. And
Yep.
so the analogy that comes to my mind is, we have night and day here on this planet Earth, but the sun doesn't stop shining because we don't see it when it's dark here. But we know it's still out there shining because we see the stars that we see is energy that's still being able to project light. And so I don't see how you can see it any other way other than the way you just explained it. At least that's I'm right there with you, Carrie.
Well, it's just I had to say that because again, it's been something that in sharing with Steve Conover and even with you and putting things out there, I've had lots of people send me messages about me still eating meat. And again, I love people where they're at, and it doesn't matter to me where they're at. And if that's what is important to them, that I embrace them. I just totally embrace them. But I know for me in my house, our lives have completely changed and transformed. And I've seen it integral in the part of our spirituality. And so the reason why I brought these two words that I've written up here, they look similar. They're actually the same letters in symbols. They're just in a permutation form differently. But it's interesting to see because it was just these words came into my mind when I was hiking this morning as I was focusing on my breath and kind of trudging as I'm carrying this load. And I said that purposely, carrying this load. The word that I have written above here, this is the word, it's yalak. And it's a form of a word that means to tread or to walk. You would normally see it written as halak, but this is yalak. And the reason why is because it now has transferred that there's power being required as you're walking. And this word means to walk, but it means to carry a load. Okay, so you can connect to that to me carrying the backpack. But it also got me thinking about all the load and the weight that I was carrying before. What I find so fascinating is, okay, so this is what's called a kaf sofit. It means it's the kaf that's at the end of the word. It's fallen in its nature. I'm not going to go into deep in that. But this is the form of what it looks like when it's not in its fallen state. So it moved from the outside of the word to the inside of the word. All the other letters are the same. It's just a permutation. And so what changed place was the lamed and the kaf now became the kaf and lamed. This is what's fascinating to me. This word right here, same letters, different order, means to be able. To be able. This means to carry a load, and this means to be able. The lamed is a fascinating letter because there's so much to it. I think it's my absolute favorite out of all of the words, all of the letters in the sacred language. Lamed is my favorite. It means to teach. It means to instruct. It means to learn. It means to compile together, to bring, sort, process, think, know. It also is a symbol. It means a staff of authority. So when we're under load, because this lamed is in the center, it means it's instructing our heart. There's something that we're being taught while we're carrying a load that is trying to communicate to our heart. The kaf is in its fallen position. So although it's a letter that means to grasp a hold of power, when it's in its fallen state, it means that it's less than what it could be. So think about that. When we're carrying a load, especially when we're carrying extra weight on our body, it is putting a burden on us, which means this little yod here is also a word that means power, and it has to do with the hand, just like the kaf does. But this means that you are having to do harder work. It's like at the beginning, it's the beginning of the word. Everything requires more work. Everything requires more power because you're carrying a load that is trying to teach your heart something. What's going on with this? So the power that you're supposed to be grabbing is in its fallen, it's in a lesser form because of that. Now, when you flip it around, this power, these two are next to each other. One is an open hand and the other one is a grasping hand. So the power that is still required, you are now grasping it on the inside. It's not falling. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. It's not falling. It's not lesser than. And now that lamed is on this outside edge, which is deeply profound because that has to do with a staff of authority that is coming from a hidden aspect that was within you that is now materialized. That is a level of authority that goes beyond anything that you had before because now it's being seen. It's not on the inside in its hidden place. It's now in an element and it's directly connected to like the divine feminine energy that is now able to be full of life. Before it was hidden, there was none. Now it is at the place where it's being revealed because you got filled with the power of that which you did. Now, this is interesting. So as this word means to be able, if you go look at the etymology of the word magic, okay, now I'm not talking about the system of duality. I'm not talking about black magic. I'm not talking about white magic. I'm talking about the essence of things that are in our life that are of the unseen realm that fill us and give us joy and allow us to create something better than what we had before because we're tapping into the essence of being self-actualized. That kind of magic. The etymology for magic means to be able. The exact form of this word, to be able. And so now when we've taken that load and that burden off, now we're able to do something with it. Now I love this. This is so good. Okay, we got you. Obviously, you can tell where my passion is. It isn't with the guitar playing in a band, it's with the languages. But I know Brian can tap into that essence when he's playing.
That guitar is his staff of authority.
It is. And that's where he does his magic, because that's where his essence comes through. All right. So the last two letters right here, when they're in this form, the Kaf and the Lamed together, this is the word for bride. Now, those who have a Christian foundation, we hear about the talk of the bride, but in its Aramaic form, which is the divine feminine form of the masculine, this means to be crowned. The bride that has been crowned, because she took the power that was within her, she grasped it, and now she's walking in her authority, in magic, creating the life that she wants, because she is now self-actualized. One more thing, I didn't write it on the board because I wanted to wait. I wanted to get that foundation. So here's the last piece. So think of the word to be able. Now let me take you into the Aramaic side of to be able. Oh, this stuff just thrills me. It's the word, it's meshachach. Mem, sheen, cough. There's that cough again. Het. Okay. Meshachach, the reason why this word is fascinating, it also means to be able. The cough is in the center of the word. So again, we're grasping the power that's on the inside. But mem, sheen, het is the same root word for Mashiach, what you would know as Messiah, aka Christ. So to be able, connected to the Yakol, is the one who, and it also means to anoint or to be anointed with oil. So when you have magic in your life, this is what's so beautiful. When you've grasped the power on the inside, and now that you're not carrying that burden, the letter Het means life. It means life. So you have grasped the power of what life is truly like. The mem and the sheen, this has to do with the masculine and the feminine energy that have come into balance because you've grasped it within, and now you are living life abundantly. You are now able, and this is directly connected to being anointed. So when somebody says, if you eat meat, you cannot be anointed, you don't have enlightenment, they don't know what the sacred languages are saying. This has nothing to do with eating meat or not eating meat. Have you grasped the power that is within you? And I'm going to say this. For those that don't have a diet that is made for this vessel, over time, it will affect your body. It may not be affecting it right now. It may not be affecting it right now. But if things keep going the way they go, and you keep going into this lifestyle where you're not with the proper nutrition, even if you're in that vegan lifestyle because you think that that's what you need to do to have enlightenment, it will impact your body negatively. There's no way of getting around it. There's no way of getting around it. There's supplements that you have to take that come from the animal fats that you're having to take to try to balance it. But because you're chasing carbohydrates all the time, it is going to impact you negatively with your blood sugars. And so it might be good right now. It might be a great detox from certain things, so because you're focusing on your food, but it will impact you negatively, and you will not have life abundantly down the road. Maybe right now you do, but not down the road. And that's what we're talking about, is the process of longevity. What does it look like to have a sustainable life in this body, to be able to carry what life is giving us, so that when we walk and we run our race, we complete it with being able to do the things. I always thought about the story in the narrative where it talks about Moses being able to run like the rest of the younger generation. What was he doing with the anointing he had that allowed him to, his eyes didn't grow dim, and to have the strength and the fortitude to continue doing what they were doing? Listen, those people were not camping and eating grain. What were they eating to sustain themselves? They had flocks, The grain, I say, was probably for the flocks, because if they were out in the desert and there was nothing for them to feed the animals were feeding that. There's a good chance that they were eating meat. There was a good chance that they were having dairy. Why do you think Moses was able to ascend the mountain the way he was at the age that he was? I don't think it was because it was a grain-filled diet. I
Well,
really don't.
to tie this all together, the gentleman who spoke yesterday at our training talked about, he asked the crowd, how many people do you know who have a ton of talent but do not apply it? And almost every hand went up. He asked the question, how many people do you know who are highly educated or have a ton of knowledge, but they have not applied it to their life so it benefits them and others around them? And this is a guy who graduated from an Ivy League school, who's a doctor, and he gave up his practice to become what he calls a ministry to people. And he said, so he has inner city kids that he works with, and he tells them all the time that if you guys could look in the future and not be addicted to your drugs or your alcohol, you're the kind of person I prefer to hire than the people who may have a Ivy League degree, because they have not experienced the contrast of life. And for the fact that you've had your journey through the valley and waking up each day with the opportunity to make today different than yesterday and to make your future brighter than today, those are the people who I want to be in business with. And I think that's so beautiful that we can each individually do that. So I hear your story, Carrie, and I hear that you've woken up months ago to be able to make today better than yesterday and your future brighter by what you do today. And because you've done that, here you are today sharing all this wisdom and bringing it all together. And that's what I hope people take from this, is that you guys each have the opportunity to take back your life. We've all been given the same vessel and the same opportunities. If you're breathing air this morning or tonight, you have the opportunity to take back your life and make your life what you want it to be. So don't let anything outside of you dictate the life sentencing that you believe that you have before you. Take the reins, take back the power that's been given to you, and use it for your good. And if you can use it for your good, you're going to be able to be an encourager of many men and women in your community, in your circle, and in your town. And though, as I said, it always goes back to Brian in this case. Brian gets a chance to be able to take what he does, simply an internal decision of what he's going to eat daily, how he's going to conduct his life daily, but that simple abeyance of what drives him internally manifests itself and actually is a light for others who may be lost and are drawn to that, just like they're drawn to you, Carrie, and drawn to many others like Rob and Carl and Dr. Kiltz. All right, it's that time of the evening where we get a chance to check in with Mr. Brian Schenker of the Meat Tribe YouTube channel for those meat deals of the week. So, Brian, what do you have for us, brother?
Not a lot. There's not a lot out there.
I love the honesty.
But there's a few. So Food Lion's got a deal running through the 20th. They have some choice grade T-bone steaks for $7.99 per pound. Harris Teeter has their New York strips on sale. So the Rancher grade, and they're all boneless. The Rancher grade value pack is $7.99 per pound. The Rancher grade small pack is $8.49 per pound, and the choice grade is $8.99 per pound. And Kroger just has one deal running through the 20th. They've got some choice grade chuck roast on sale for $4.97 per pound. And then Giant Eagle has some certified Angus beef, T-bone, and porterhouse steaks running through the 21st for $11.99 per pound. And that's it.
That's it. Short, sweet, and that's it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, it is what it is. You're just the mailman. You don't create the sales, you just deliver them. So,
That's right. That's right.
all right. Well, thank you for jumping on and giving us what you do have. And we'll look forward to seeing you next Friday. Same time, same place.
Sounds good. Take care,
All right.
everybody.
Take care, Brian.
I'm going to ask Brian, do you have anything else to finish, Carrie? Because I feel like as was like the grand revealing, it
All-
was awesome.
All I want to say is that this is life abundantly. If people want to know in that text in the Bible where Yeshua came to give life and give it life abundantly, there was a message that he was trying to convey, and it's still a message today, and it's to walk in the way. And to walk in the way is taking everything in consideration through body, soul, and spirit. And if you haven't taken charge of your body, your physical temple today, I just urge everyone to do it. Jump into it. Do some research. Ask people, have questions, because I've tried to be very honest in this journey about some of the things that I have wrestled with and some of the glory moments that I've had. It is all worth it. And if you don't have life abundantly right now, then start questioning why you don't. And perhaps one of the biggest things that needs to be changed in your life in order to embrace life abundant is your diet. Consider keto. Consider giving it a try and doing it for reasons other than the vanity reason of trying to look good in a pair of jeans. Do it for your health. Do it so you can have abundant life, because I'm telling you, it is fan-freaking-tastic.
And with that being said, I'm going to ask Brian, what has given him more abundant life? If someone's watching this program, what bit of advice would you give them that brought you abundance in life, Brian? What would you tell them?
I would say eat your meat.
And we will second that. Everybody, thanks for joining with us. In the interim, stay safe, stay well, stay kind, and stay out of the hospital. And we'll see you next Friday, everybody.
See ya.
Namaste.